Welcome to another episode of Sips and Screams, where twin sister horror movie fanatics sip themed cocktails and discuss our favorites in the genre. Well, it's Oscar season, and today in episode 13, we are discussing one of the best recent body horror movies that has lots of Oscar attention, The Substance. Written and directed by Coralie Fargeat and starring Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, and a very committed, shall we say, Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, I'd say so.
This movie was, in a word, shocking, disturbing, completely unhinged. It's truly excellent, and we cannot wait to pump this one up.
Oh, I love what you did there, Ash.
I'm Ashley, and of course, joining me today, as always, is my twin sister, Allie. Allie, how are you doing? Are you excited for this one?
You know I'm excited for this one.
Are you excited for the Oscars? Are you excited for the Oscars?
I'm excited for all of it. I mean, come on. Horror movies being nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
A horror movie actress being nominated for Best Actress. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's unprecedented. And will horror prevail this year? We shall see.
I think so.
As always, you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Our handle is at Sips and Screams Pod. You can also email us. Our email address is sipsandscreams.podcast@gmail.com. Also, we are everywhere where you get your podcasts. And if you do listen, we would absolutely love it if you would let us know what you think, leave us a rating and or a review. Okay, it's time. Episode 13. Allie, what time is it?
It is killer cocktail time.
And we thought about this one. We were going back and forth, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of texts. We were like, I mean, obviously it has to be. I mean, there's a liquid in the movie, The Substance. We need to pay homage to that. So what are we doing?
We do. And when you think of it, right? Like what green, yellow liqueurs are there? There's some. Are they enjoyable? They're definitely not enjoyable. We could have gone the dirty martini route, Ash, I guess.
Oh, yeah. We didn't think of that.
Alyssa was into that, but
that was a Thanksgiving don't, though. That was a Thanksgiving don't. I'm not recovered from that up in Baltimore.
Ash and I had an experience the night before Thanksgiving with, I'd say one, maybe two too many dirty martinis. So that made Thanksgiving morning a little rough this year.
It was a little rough, yeah.
Yeah.
So we went really safe. We went really safe tonight.
We did.
And we're going to see what color comes out the other end.
I know. I know.
So it's green, yellow.
Yeah, we are back to our cocktails this week for episode 13, everyone. We are doing our take on a vodka lemonade. Vodka lemonade, everybody. Vodka lemonade.
So exciting. So exciting.
I think it's a crowd pleaser. I think people will enjoy drinking this along with us.
People like vodka. People like lemonade.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't like both of those? And
not me.
As always, we're going to, vibe it up a bit and add a little sparkling.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
Vibe it up.
I can't.
Al, are we going to pump it up?
Wait, that was a missed opportunity. Why did I not say pump it up? Why did I not?
Gotta pump it up. Pump it up.
Pump it up.
With the Topo Chico. Okay, enough of that.
Singing.
Enough of that.
Professional singer over here.
Yeah.
Ash.
Yeah.
You can do a little version of it later. I'm gonna at the end of the podcast, I'm gonna ask you to sing it for us, Ash.
Okay. All right. We'll see if I want to do it at the end. Okay. You guys ready?
Yeah. We're gonna shake this up. We've got some vodka. I'm doing Kettle One vodka, some just Minute Maid lemonade. I mean, nothing special. I don't think you have to do anything special.
I also have Minute Maid lemonade. I couldn't tell you the vodka. It starts with an H.
What do you mean you can't tell me the vodka?
I don't remember it.
Not Hendrix. That's shit.
No, it's not Hendrix. It's like it starts with an H, and it tastes kind of salty. That's all. You guys figure it out. I actually don't remember. It was in my freezer.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna figure that one out. Listeners, also let's make this a trivia game. What vodka starts with H?
Starts with an H. Kind of tastes salty.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, ready?
Gonna pour this in. I have a green tinted glass, so it's not gonna look like anything.
Okay, this sucks. Oh, mine kind of looks yellow. Not really.
No, okay. I mean, we were trying to go for like a bright yellow, substance-y cocktail. But I poured my vodka lemonade in my glass. I'm going to top it off with some lime flavored Topo Chico tonight.
Yeah. We weren't brave enough to do sour apple. Sorry to all you kids out there. You enjoy. No thanks.
We wanted to do Midori sours though. We were thinking that, but you know what?
Midori's
Midori
anywhere. It's very hard
Midori's not easy to come by. And melon liqueur. I'm not so sure about that. This looks delightful. I mean, does it look yellow like a substance? Not really. Yours doesn't either.
It's our substance.
Yeah, this is ours.
Cheers.
Get us through episode 13.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Delicious.
Yeah.
And I can taste the salt.
I put a little bit, I think too much Kettle One in mine, but you know
you would be the worst bartender. Or maybe the best.
I'm not good.
Maybe the best bartender. Mm-hmm. People that really want, strong drinks. Go see Allie.
I'm into it.
Yeah. She's dancing. Yeah. She's really into it, everybody. She's got a little dance going on. She's like singing Pump It Up in her head.
Yeah. I am. I was like dancing to it. Ash, we're also dressed for the occasion tonight.
Kind of, yeah. We're trying.
Well,
we're trying to
you
channel.
More so than me. You're way better at this than I am. But for listeners who can't see us, Ash, we're both channeling Sue tonight.
Yeah,
we're channeling Sue with our pink. Ash is even rocking the pink eyeshadow, which I have to say, Ash looks amazing.
The pink eyeshadow, yeah. I like to bring this out. Yeah,
I have some, but it's not sparkly like that. Yours is like the actual like Sue pink eyeshadow.
I'm only channeling Sue because I didn't have a yellow pea coat.
I want a mustard yellow pea coat after this.
Doesn't.
That looks awesome.
Yeah, it does look awesome. And I have like pretty, long black hair, so I could totally pull up to be more. But we're channeling Margaret tonight. And you have some weird, Alias, what is that? Beige, pink? What are you wearing? And she has some weird, you got some weird like protrusion, I think.
Yeah,
from like,
you know what? I pulled this out deep out of the closet. It's been back there on a hanger for some time. I've got some protrusions in this sweater. I'm channeling Sue as well in the dream
Monster
sequence.
Sue.
No, I feel like I'm channeling like when the drumstick, like protruding out. Like that's who I am. Or monster.
If you pull a drumstick out of there, I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Imagine if I did. You would love that. Come on.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. All right. So we're ready to dive in. Let's go with sips and synopsis. Allie, tell us all about the plot of The Substance.
Yeah, The Substance. I mean, before I get in, I'm going to take a little sip of my substance.
I see what you did there. I like that.
Yeah, thank you. For this movie, we're going all the way back to 2024. Back a few months, but
what a great year that was.
Yeah, it was a great year for horror. To be fair, yeah.
I don't know why I said that sarcastically. It was a good year for horror.
It was
like what a year.
We've been excited to do this one. I think this is one of the more recent horror movies that we've covered on the podcast.
Yeah.
So very excited. Of course, Demi Moore is nominated for Best Actress Oscar this year. So we're all very excited to see, and hopefully she takes that home.
Oh my goodness. Her speech at the Golden Globes was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just like what a woman.
Yeah. She's incredible.
She looks fantastic.
She looks incredible. She's incredible in this movie. And this movie starts out. So this movie, I have to say, what I love about this movie, like apart from the visuals, this movie is very visually appealing. I think for anyone who likes horror movies, there's a lot of throwbacks. The use of color and everything is so amazing.
It's a delight.
It's such a delight. And then the 3 acts. I love how it follows the 3 acts. So it starts out. Act 1, right, is about Elizabeth Sparkle. And so that's Demi Moore's character. And then we are introduced to Sue, and then it gets a little more darker from there. But I think from the very beginning, we see that opening scene. That opening scene of Elizabeth Sparkle's Hollywood star.
Yeah.
And they're showing, and I love how they do that. And they show when they first implement it, and then they show like as the years and seasons have passed and how like people have forgotten and don't care anymore. And I thought that was like, what they do with this movie, I think it's so great too, is they do a lot without saying there's no dialogue.
No exposition.
No exposition. It's so great. So they just show it.
Very May, December. Very May, December.
Yes.
Right? When like the seasons change, and then now she's so old, everybody. She's turning 50.
She's 50, yeah. So
she's
Elizabeth
ancient,
Sparkle
right?
She is a fitness guru. She has her own fitness show. And she's turning 50, and they're deeming that too old to host your own fitness show. And
Everything
they want
stops.
someone, 50 years old in Hollywood. So they want, starts out, she's recording what she doesn't know at the time, but to be her final fitness show. And at that point, it's geared more towards, I guess, middle-aged women. And she's leaving. It's her birthday. Everyone's wishing her happy birthday. It's her 50th birthday. She goes into the bathroom and accidentally overhears Dennis Quaid's character talking to someone on the phone that they are going to be getting rid of her, that they need someone hot and new. And so she's
so
obviously
aggressive
distraught.
too.
I know, so aggressive. He's the worst. And so it cuts to them at lunch. And that scene, okay, so Elizabeth Sparkle, Demi Moore's character, Dennis Quaid's character, her boss, or the owner of the studio, or whatever his character is.
The network head.
They're the network head. And so they're at lunch. He's just chowing down on shrimp, like whole shrimp. We're saying like he's eating the heads, everything. It's just disgusting. I mean,
it's disgusting.
The camera zoomed in on him. And he's, trying to explain to Elizabeth Sparkle, why they're going to get, why they need like some new blood and like a new character. So he effectively fires her.
I mean, it's absolutely gross. It's really zoomed in on him, like eating the shrimp, and it's really disgusting. But I made another observation. I want to know if you noticed this.
Okay.
And I feel like it's a little Canadian nod. And I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but here we go. Okay. There was a black fly in his Chardonnay. Did you see it? When he's like when he leaves the table and she looks over at the wine.
So. Yeah.
There's a black fly floating in it. And I immediately thought of Ironic by Alanis Morissette. So I think she got a little shout out.
I hope so. Wait, that's brilliant. If so. So black fly in the Chardonnay, Dennis Quaid fires Elizabeth Sparkle after eating so many shrimp in a very disgusting way. And so she's driving home from lunch, obviously distraught about this news that, her career is effectively over. And she gets in like one of the worst car accidents, that we've ever seen. I think
T-bone, just T-bone, rolls that car.
Yeah. And miraculously, she's good. Like no broken bones. So she's at the doctor's office. No broken bones.
Physically, she's good.
Yeah, physically, she's good. Mentally. She's not, she's got some problems. Yeah. But the doctor examines her, say she's going to be okay. And then before she leaves, there's a nurse, practitioner nurse. They don't really go into it, who's also in the room with her, who's
very handsy.
Very handsy. Before she leaves, he's examining her spine, which we don't know what for at the time. And he mentions that she would be a good candidate, and she doesn't know what that is.
Lots of CSF up in there.
Oh, yes. And is that why? Wait, so I thought it was like if she could handle like birthing, like the new thing. I think it's the cerebral spinal fluid.
Oh, I see.
There's a lot of the.
No, you might be right, because the CSF is like inside the spine. It's like a spinal tap. Yeah. Maybe you're right.
I feel like he was feeling to see if she could like handle the birthing moment.
Maybe you're right. Let's go with your
more on the birthing moment later. But he slips her a little note about this, to call this number and saying that it changed his life. We don't know what it is yet, but when Elizabeth Sparkle gets home, we see her beautiful apartment. She lives in a beautiful apartment in Los Angeles.
I want that apartment.
I think one of the cool things about the movie too is like, obviously we see them using iPhones and we see that it's modern day, but it sets the tone. It's almost like 80s, or
it's retro.
Yeah. And like kind of mid-century modern too. And I love that about it.
Yeah. But if I could decorate my apartment, it would be that. I liked the carpet. I loved like the white bathroom. I like the curvy hallway.
You like the white bathroom?
I did. I liked
sterile
it.
And kind of creepy.
No, I liked it.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Okay. So on her way home from the hospital, she runs into this middle-aged man, and his name is Fred. And she went to high school with him. And he's so excited to see her, right? He calls her Lizzie, right? Because they went to high school together. And I think, and he's like so excited and says that she was like, oh, this is the most beautiful girl. And I think that really boosts her confidence a bit. But she takes his number. At that time, I'm not sure she thinks she'll ever call him, but she does have Fred's number, which is an important plot point later on in the movie.
It's covered in mud, but she keeps it anyhow. You know what? That scene really reminded me of Groundhog Day. When the guy comes, I was like, Phil.
Wait, that guy. It's so Groundhog Day. Is it the same actor?
Like Groundhog Day.
100%.
I mean, clearly it's not the same actor. That was like,
okay.
But there's the Andy McDowell connection. So, I don't know what's going on there. But
wait, it is now that you say it.
It does remind me of that.
Actually. So Elizabeth Sparkle's back at her apartment. She opens, reaches into her yellow coat pocket. Again, that yellow wool coat of hers is an amazing kind of character on its own, I'd say, in this movie. And so she pulls out the note that she got from that younger, good-looking male nurse. And it's a USB is in there as well.
Yeah.
And she pops that in and she learns about the substance.
I love the music. It was like, whoa, like the
It's
very like
so good.
very effective. Yeah.
It is. I don't really know what it is, right? But it's kind of talking about become a better version of yourself, right? It's very vague. There's some like scenery, but we don't really know the details on it. So
A lot of division.
Some division of cells there, I guess, or eggs, mitosis. But I think she doesn't think much of it, and so she goes to bed and she throws it away. She wakes up the next day and she's thinking about it some more. So she gives that number a call. So she calls them. She's interested in it. She just I guess, gives them her address, and eventually she gets something in the mail to go retrieve the substance. And so she goes to some seedy place in the city.
You know what? That was after her night where she had a lot of dirty martinis.
That was
she lining them up. I'm like,
that's right.
I've been there the day before Thanksgiving. That was us.
You didn't do, Ash. You didn't call the substance though. You didn't call that number and then birth a new version of yourself.
I felt bad enough that I probably would have. Not going to lie. That was quite the Thanksgiving morning.
So she goes to this room in an abandoned warehouse, and she retrieves, she's in, was it mailbox 503, and she retrieves the substance. She takes that home. And I love how she takes it home. And I got to say, the packaging, quite nice on this.
It was.
Right?
It was quite nice. A four-step skincare routine.
Yeah, exactly.
Very simple.
Exactly.
Told you what to do.
Yeah, it does. It was very clear.
Very clean.
Yeah, simple. I'm impressed with how easily they were able to give themselves IV injections, but they were. And so we learn, what it is, right? It's this green liquid. The activating liquid is the substance, and it says activate only once. So you can, inject that in yourself and activate once.
Clearly, they're coming back to that.
Yeah. Yes. That's an important plot point that we're introduced to at the beginning that they obviously don't adhere to at the end of the movie. Stabilize daily. It's the second one, right? So the other U has to stabilize using, like you said, cerebral spinal fluid, and then switch every 7 days. That's the other important point. So you create this new version, better version of yourself. That other version has to stabilize. And then you need to make sure that you switch every 7 days. Those are the rules. So, she's standing in that.
Follow them blindly.
that sterile white bathroom apparently you love. I gotta say, it felt like a hospital room to me. I was less of a fan, Ash, but
it was very sterile. I will say that.
You want that, just the white,
it was just very clean, and it was a large room. I kind of liked it.
All right, fair enough. So she's Elizabeth Sparkle's in there contemplating her decision. She's standing there no clothes on. And then she just injects the substance into her. Again, very, very good at, at doing an IV on herself. So she injects most of that yellowish green liquid. And at first she thinks nothing's happening. But then, it's hard to
eyes.
describe. Yeah.
a lot of pulsating.
Yeah, you see her eyes, the iris just divide. And then, she looks like she's in a tremendous amount of pain and falls to the ground, just hits her head on that sterile, hard white floor. And then effectively births another younger version of herself.
A reverse birth from her back.
Yeah. Comes out of her back. So this younger other self just emerges from her back, and so her spine, her spine's okay though, right? So I guess it's the skin around the spine.
Yeah, it must be. Okay. I don't know. That's a little bone
together. Yeah, I don't know.
The other self, Margaret Qualley, she's very covered in a liquid. She's very shiny when she gets
she's very shiny.
Birthed.
I think that's
I guess that's the serum.
Yeah, so she's covered in a milky, liquidy
milky exoskeleton.
Yes, so the new, better version of Elizabeth Sparkle is born, and she's now in the world. And so we kind of start seeing the world from her perspective.
She's feeling herself. She's really feeling herself. She goes to the mirror. But if you think of
it, they're supposed to be the same person, right? So she's just surprised and excited, I guess, about this new younger body that she has, Ash.
I have so many questions. We can get to it later.
I have questions too. It doesn't necessarily, they're supposed to be the same self. It's supposed to be one. They're supposed to be one, right?
You are
but it
one.
really feels like they're not one. So yeah, so she's the new self is birthed and she just kind of seems to know what to do too, right? So she takes it out. She sees that there's food that she has to feed Elizabeth Sparkle during those 7 days. So she again gets that IV and she gives her food and then she learns about the stabilizer. And so you have to actually inject a needle into the spine of the Matrix person, the first person, Elizabeth Sparkle, and take some cerebral spinal fluid and inject that into yourself every day.
Daily. So she's getting a spinal tap daily.
Yeah, spinal tap. I know. And as those spinal taps go on, that's one of the more disgusting parts of this movie. I mean, there's a lot of disgusting parts of the movie, but that is one of them.
Wait, so I have a question. So Sue, the other self, which is Margaret Qualley, she's doing the stabilizer thing from Demi Moore, who's Elizabeth every day. But when, after the 7 days and they switch.
She doesn't need to.
She doesn't need to. Okay. So it's just the other self.
Yeah. I think the other self needs to stabilize, but the Matrix, like the first one, doesn't need to stabilize. That's my understanding, Ash. Yes.
Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah.
It's been keeping me up at night.
Yeah, that's it. Well, you know what? I'm glad we have this podcast to help clear that up. So now we're in the week of Sue. So that's the other self. And I think, you start seeing the colors change. She's wearing pinks and blues and she's not necessarily doesn't know what she's going to do like when she's first born, right? And first living, but she figures it out pretty quickly. She's going to go and audition for the new Elizabeth Sparkle.
Well, she sees because Elizabeth had thrown out, because she discovered in the newspaper that they had an ad for her replacement and she threw it out in, a fit of fury. And then Sue finds it the next day and is like, oh, I can do that. Because she obviously still has like the talent, like the lived experiences.
Exactly. She still
Elizabeth,
knows.
But she doesn't. Yeah, there's some kind of disconnect there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. And we have to dig into that because I think that is, if it's a plot point or just something that confused me while watching it too.
Yeah, maybe a plot hole.
Yeah. So Sue, the younger version of Elizabeth Sparkle goes and auditions and she gets the part and they love her. She's going to be the new face of this fitness show. We find out later it's called Pump It Up. Right. But she has to let them know. I know. So now we're into the second act, which is called Sue. So the first act, Elizabeth Sparkle, second act, Sue. And so she's just, quickly being loved by the public.
And they let her do, like when she was first hired, she was like, okay, I'll take the job, but every second week I won't be here.
And they're like, that's fine. Yeah,
that's fine. We want you.
Exactly.
Imagine what kind of job is that? They're like fine with it.
Okay, so we're at end of week 1. Sue has to switch back. So she adheres to it that first week. The billboard starting to go up of her and her new show and her little pink leotard. But the 7 days are up and she has to go back. So she goes and she switches back. And now Elizabeth Sparkle wakes up for the very first time and she wakes up and again, the whole thing looks painful, right? She had to get back stitched. I mean, it just looks kind of miserable.
Those stitches were like shoelaces.
They were shoelaces.
Right? They were so
also
thick.
The skill at which Sue had, like it's again, true. The IV skills, the stitching skills. I mean, there's other skills. It's impressive.
Yeah. Very impressive.
So Elizabeth has her kind of first week back out and, she doesn't do a whole lot. Right. So then she switches back and Sue, wakes up again for her next week. And she's realizing, right, that Elizabeth isn't doing much. She's watching Home Shopping Network and things like that. And we also learned that Sue is quite handy. So she realizes incredibly handy. So, at this point, Sue and Elizabeth during their weeks off had just been laying in that apparently amazing bathroom that Ash would like to have in her house someday.
I like it.
Yeah. And she decides that she's going to build like a closet out of that bathroom. So she's checking all the walls.
She's smart.
She is smart. Sue's got some talents. And so she just tears down a wall. She builds a closet effectively. I mean, she's like amazing.
Welding at one point.
She is welding.
Yeah, she's very handy.
And the neighbor Oliver is like all annoyed because he thinks it's Elizabeth Sparkle that lives there, like the older 50-year-old woman. And he comes over and it's the new, younger, hotter Sue, right? And of course they have no issues with that. So I think they play with that a lot in the movie, right? Kind of how they're perceived in the public, the younger Sue versus the 50-year-old Elizabeth Sparkle. So after all the practice, Sue's ready to record her first show. So they record the first show, it's a success. They go out that night. And this is on the 7th day when she's supposed to be switching back to Elizabeth Sparkle. And so she goes out that night.
Quite the outfit. That outfit was amazing.
Skin. It was amazing. Like
the zippers on both sides.
Oh, that's right.
Both
zippers
sides, front and back.
I know. And the heels and everything. So she goes out with her friends. And she comes back a little late, right? So they're a little past those 7 days, and you go in and you just kind of see that food, Elizabeth Sparkle's character just like kind of just sucking the last bit of that food out. And it's very visual.
Like squeezing picture like squeezing like a toothpaste tube. She just trying to get the milky whatever out of the bag.
That's right. That's right. We're probably past at that point, the 7-day mark. But Sue was brought home a guy, right?
A gentleman caller
who has a motorcycle. So they're having, some intimate moments in the living room. And her nose starts bleeding, and she goes in and she realizes she needs to get some stabilizer. So she takes a little extra stabilizer from Elizabeth Sparkle, a little extra cerebral spinal fluid. Yeah. She does her thing, she finishes with that guy. And she goes back in and switches, but it's been a little too long. So at this point, when Elizabeth Sparkle wakes up, when they've switched, she realizes that she has one of her fingers is dead, is gray and no longer working.
Yeah, it looks like one of those old those Halloween costumes you used to get with the witches fingers.
It looks
disturbing.
That. Yeah, it's effective though, right? Because her needle's dead, and it's a small thing, but she's realizing. Yeah, so she calls the substance number, and she's like, "There's been an abuse of it," and we learn that what's lost on one side cannot be regained. So basically, that dead finger is permanent.
She should have stopped there. It wasn't that bad.
You should have.
Honestly,
the finger, come on, dead finger. Come on, you can handle it.
Yeah, it was fine. Yeah. She doesn't stop there.
No, she doesn't. And she, at this point, when she's awake, she's seen the commercial for the new Pump It Up Sue TV show. She goes to pick up her refill. And at this point too, this scene, I do want to talk about it because she picks up her refill, right? And she feels like someone's watching her. And she goes to a diner, and there's this older gentleman in the corner. Yeah. And he kind of looks familiar to her. And she realizes that that's the older version of that male nurse that gave her the substance.
And they so my one critique of this movie is they showed us that birthmark thing on his wrist, twice they zoomed in on it in the hospital at the beginning, the younger guy. Yeah. And then they show it obviously that was going to come into play. And then that's the first thing that they show in the diner. He's the older version and he has that birthmark.
Yes.
So clearly it was him, but I thought that was a little, I'm like, oh yeah, we get it. Clearly
very obvious.
Very
obviously
obvious.
We kind of knew that before they even showed it. Right.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But it's, and he's saying it gets harder to appreciate this version of yourself. And kind of a sad moment. She runs out of there, but at this point she remembers that she has Fred's number.
Yeah. Yeah. So she needs some male validation and it's all going to be okay.
Yeah. All right. Good. Touche. Good point, Ash.
Yeah. I'm like,
she can't just be happy with herself, but needs, that male validation. So she calls Fred. And they set a date for that evening. So she's getting ready. She's very excited about it.
Luigi's
in the mirror. Yeah. Luigi's.
It sounded nice.
It did. It sounded lovely. She's in a beautiful dress. She looks amazing.
The red dress.
It's incredible. With the black gloves. Looks
oh my goodness. Yeah. She looks amazing.
But as she's leaving, she gets a glimpse of that younger, better version of herself. And she gets really self-conscious. So she starts messing with her makeup, her outfit. And I have to say that scene is just heartbreaking. Yeah. Right. The number of times she goes back to the mirror, the number of times she tries to leave, but still it's not good enough. And the self-consciousness kind of rears its ugly head. And she never makes the date with Fred. Yeah. And I think that's a pivotal point in the movie because from that point on, it's very destructive, right? She's just not really living her Elizabeth Sparkle self anymore.
Right. Yeah. And she's I feel like that's why she got nominated for an Oscar, that scene. Well, some scenes at the end too, but that scene in the mirror where she's just reapplying her makeup and smearing it off and just so frustrated and angry and self-conscious. It was just kind of the culmination of everything.
I know, such a good scene. They show the, we know the dinner's at 8 and they keep showing the clock as well. And so time is ticking, you feel for it, right? I remember watching that and you kind of have that anxiety.
You're like, just go.
Yeah. She doesn't. Instead, she just eats a bunch of fried chicken, runs chicken. So when Sue wakes up, she's realizing, that during Elizabeth Sparkle's time off, she's like eating a lot and kind of making a mess. So things are going well for Sue. Her show is a success, and she wants more than those 7 days. And she's going to take them. She's going to take those 7 days. So she's going to keep going in, taking that cerebral spinal fluid. It's like so gross. And it looks like an infection. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's so gross.
So at this point, they're prepping not only for a show, but she learns that she's going to get this New Year's Eve show. So they need more time to prep, right? So she keeps taking more time. She takes, I guess, I don't know if it's a few more days or a few more weeks. They eventually do switch back. And at this point, Elizabeth Sparkle wakes up and she's even worse off. Yeah. So now she has effectively half of her body is dead at this point. Her hair is all gray. I mean, it is disturbing.
Yeah. And she still doesn't stop.
I know.
Are you crazy?
She still doesn't. And at this point, she's aged. I mean, what? At this point, probably like another 20 years.
Yeah. And she still honestly looks fine. You probably still could have made it happen, but what's done is done. It's brutal.
I know. So, she calls the substance again to say this been abused, may ask if she wants to stop. And she still is not terminating, not at this point.
Why? Yeah. I know. I have
she just cooks a ton. She just, she takes that cooking book that the Dennis Quaid character gave her when she retired, and she, in a very disturbing way, makes a lot of different French dishes.
Yeah.
Whilst watching Sue's interview on this talk show about the New Year's Eve show, and it's like quite the scene.
It's like Julia Childs unhinged, right? Just insanity in this little galley kitchen. Cooking everything, the blood sausages, the whatever, the duck part, and the everything. It's everything so gross. Yeah,
I know.
I mean, she's watching this interview, right? But the Sue is basically, when they ask her where'd you get your talent from, or all your all your success, what do you attribute it to? And she just I don't know, I just grew up in a small town. She has this backstory.
I know.
Is that where Elizabeth's is from? She has this whole backstory.
That's what I think. So I think those are Elizabeth Sparkle's memories, right?
Memories, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so in addition to cooking all this food from the French cookbook, she just puts newspaper all over the apartment too. So she's just kind of just becoming almost deranged, Elizabeth Sparkle.
She can't look at that billboard anymore.
She cannot. She cannot. And it's right. I mean, it's to be fair, the apartment's beautiful, right? There's a lot of light and that window's huge, but she cannot. So after her 7 days, she switches back. So the one thing, Elizabeth Sparkle doesn't take any extra days. She switches back within those 7.
Yeah, she adheres.
She adheres to it. She does. But she switches back, and then Sue wakes up, and Sue is just enraged at this point, right? Mm-hmm. And she's at this point not going to go back. So they're prepping for the New Year's Eve show, and she just keeps taking more and more time. At this point, I think it's 3 months go by.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 months, Elizabeth Sparkle's character is just, almost comatose. I guess she still feeds her some food. I don't know how she gets the food.
Yeah, I don't know.
But she's taking all of that fluid, the stabilizer fluid from her. And we're now upon the day. It's the day before the New Year's Eve show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is the big show. It's her big debut. She's going to be really successful. Yeah. And so she has some guy there. Again, she's kind of living her life, with Elizabeth Sparkle. She
really settled in. Her boyfriend's living with her.
Settled in. Yeah. Is he living there, Ash?
I don't know. I think so.
There.
Yeah.
And at this point, she, her nose starts bleeding. She's now out of stabilizer fluid. So she goes in. She's like, I'm going to go get some more. She goes in and tries to get some more stabilizer fluid and pulls out
dried up.
Just disgusting. Yeah. Nothingness, I guess, from her. So she can't do it. And she calls the substance, and they're like, it's all gone. The only way to get more is to switch back so it can regenerate. Mm-hmm. So Sue at this point doesn't have a choice. She has to switch back into Spinmutts. Mm-hmm. So she switches back. Yeah, she switches back. Her boyfriend's still in the apartment. She switches back. Elizabeth Sparkle awakens, looks at herself in the mirror. She's effectively become Gollum at this point.
I had that written down. She's Gollum.
She's Gollum.
She's look Gollum. On her face. She's bald.
She's bald. She's, aged in like
100 years.
Way. Yeah. 100 years. Yeah.
Just bones protruding, just falling
disturbing.
Apart. Yeah.
It's not great. She's the boyfriend's still there, which is hilarious. She's yelling, and he's gets the hell out of there.
He runs out of the apartment naked with his clothes.
He's well, you'd be surprised, right? You're who is that? Mm-hmm. This monster has been living in the bathroom closet. And so at this point, Elizabeth Sparkle has had enough. She has. She's now Gollum. It's been a few months. And so she calls the substance and she says she wants to terminate.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay. But she still has to go pick up the termination fluid.
Yeah.
So she puts that yellow coat back on.
Yeah.
She puts the yellow coat back on over her hunchback, puts the scarf over her. I think she even puts the sunglasses on, right? The black sunglasses.
She doesn't look that bad when she puts all the stuff on.
She doesn't look that bad.
She's a stylish Gollum.
She's just like hobbling her way to the locker where she's going to pick it up.
I love that because she's so fed up. She can't take it. And like the neighbor comes out, is like, Sue. And she's like, F off. And she just runs out the door. Like,
okay, I like that
hobbles
part.
Away. She's like,
neighbor.
Yeah, she's putting up a fight now.
Yeah. Now she is. Yeah. Yeah. So she goes, gets that Terminator fluid and she comes back and she's about to kill Sue. So she injects that Terminator fluid in. It's almost all the way in. And then she has second thoughts. She's looking at her and she's like, you're me and she can't do it. So
you're the only part of me that matters. And like, she shows her mercy. And that is just so,
she does.
So strange.
And, it is not returned. It is not. Sue wakes back up. And this is the first time now that we have both Sue and Elizabeth seeing each other, right? They hadn't seen each other before because they were different versions of each other.
Yeah.
Sue wakes up and Sue is not happy when she sees that Terminator fluid and that Elizabeth was trying to kill her.
Yeah. She freaks out.
Yeah. All hell breaks loose at that point. And again, apart from Sue's handy skills, she has got some inhuman strength.
Yeah, absolutely.
She beats the sleep
the living daylight.
Elizabeth Sparkle. She kicks her. She just beats her. I mean,
how
those scenes? I mean, just
she's a fighter though. Elizabeth gets like she knocks her head into. She goes back to the bathroom, knocks her head into that mirror like 20 times, and she's still alive. She's still fighting.
Still kicking. She is still kicking. Yeah. And then Sue just kicks her to death in the living room.
Oh yeah, blood spattering everywhere.
Everywhere. And that not only on her, but like Sue is just covered in Elizabeth Sparkle's blood at that point.
Yeah.
Just covered. And that's when Elizabeth Sparkle meets her demise.
Yeah.
Well,
drink.
In one way. Drink. Not
every way.
cheersing to that, but we're not cheersing to that, everybody. But yeah, so it is New Year's Eve and Sue is somewhere to be. She's going to be hosting that New Year's Eve show. So she goes, she's now killed Elizabeth Sparkle, cleans herself up, goes down to the show as they're rehearsing. She's in her pretty blue dress.
Beautiful ball gown. It was nice.
It was nice. And they're all very excited as they're rehearsing. But things don't feel right for her. So she starts just deteriorating. She starts losing ears.
Like had a dream like that once.
Yeah.
I think we all
had dreams about losing teeth. Not an ear though, Ash. I'm not sure I've had a dream about losing an ear.
Now I will. Tonight I will.
Well, let us know. Let us know if that happens. Listeners, let us know. Have you had dreams about like losing an ear before?
Yeah.
But obviously she can't, she's losing appendages. She can't just stay there. So her brilliant idea is that she's going to go back. She remembers that there's a little bit of that activator fluid left. She goes back to that white bathroom. She injects a little bit of that activator fluid in her, hoping that somehow she's going to become a better version of herself.
Yeah, she's pleading. Her hubris was her own demise.
It was. She does not become a better version of herself.
Well, to each their own, Al. To each their own. Maybe some people disagree.
Okay. Well, let me describe it to everyone. So she injects the substance. And she births a new version of herself. Mm-hmm. This new version of herself has multiple arms, multiple heads, strands of hair, teeth in places that teeth shouldn't be. Appendages dangling that, again, shouldn't be.
Yeah. Ears in weird location.
Ears in location.
Very, very lumpy. A very lumpy.
Yeah, it's lumpy.
Amorphous.
For those of you who know what a teratoma is, it's effectively that. It is she becomes a life-size teratoma.
Yeah.
And you've got Elizabeth Sparkle's head on the back, just like screaming.
With the hand. And she's like, no.
It's just the face, she can't move. The hand, the arm just like, it's like out the back. And then the face that's distorted with the teeth everywhere.
Can you imagine them like making the prosthetic for that? They're like, no, it needs to be grosser. Put a hand, put another set of teeth.
Can we have a dangling breast, please? And then birth one later, please. Please. I need that.
Oh, no.
But, you know.
And her name, though.
Her name is Monstro Eliza Sue. Right?
Monstro Eliza Sue. Yeah.
Monstro Eliza Sue. So
Monstro.
Now we're into Act 3, people. We are at Act 3. Sue is now birthed. Monstro Eliza Sue. It is as disgusting as it sounds as we depicted it. It is even more so. If you haven't seen this movie and you're listening to this podcast, like go watch it. If you have, like remember that feeling when you first saw it. And what
it's not as bad the second viewing, but the first time you're like, it
was almost as bad the second viewing. So Monstro Eliza Sue is not giving up though. You know, she is going to go back and attempt to host that New Year's show. Before doing so, you know, she's going to make herself look pretty. Yeah. She puts an earring on the one ear. She tries to curl her strand.
Oh, she puts both earrings on, just like she does? Pushes them into her. Like, yeah, she has two. And they like kind of dangle.
Yeah. And then she finds like a cutout of Elizabeth Sparkle and puts that cutout face on her. And then she goes down to the studio and like walks and you know, it's interesting, right? Because the way they film it, it's like, I guess it's from her perspective or something, as if everything's normal. And she goes out, you know, it's her chance to be on the stage in the show. And there's a whole audience and everything. And they see her, the audience sees her for the first time. And obviously things aren't normal there. And people start, you know, being like freaked out by it and scared by it and calling her a freak and a monster.
And they weren't actually freaked out until the face, off. The mask, whatever, the picture fell off. Other than that,
they were like okay with it before then. She's wearing the blue dress, but things are hanging out of it. And they're like okay with it at that point. But then when that mask comes off, they're like, no.
Like, you freak. They're so mean.
It's disturbing. And she gets attacked. You know, they're trying to like kill her. And then that, I think, pivotal scene of the third act, just when that happens, just blood starts splurting out from Monstro Eliza Sue. And it splurts out onto the audience for a solid, at least a minute of this movie, Ash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it is so, I mean, I said before, like completely unhinged, so amazing. Very violent, and people just sit there and take it. Like it's all the people in the network, a lot of older white men.
The blood's just like attacking them.
Yeah, but they're just sitting there like, oh, like you could leave, just walk out the door.
Yeah,
they don't.
You could. No, they don't. They get doused in Monstro Eliza Sue's blood.
And they're just outraged. You're like, there's the door.
So the night did not go, I think, how anyone was expecting it to go. Yeah, just, you know, so much blood. And then she, you know, the Monstro Eliza Sue eventually makes its way out onto the street, and starts just disintegrating. And the very end of the movie, the face that eventually disintegrates of Elizabeth Sparkle just dies or disappears over her Hollywood star. And it takes us right back to the beginning. Yeah. And that is The Substance.
Bravo, Al. Yes.
Yeah. It's a movie.
It is a movie, that's for sure. I liked the kind of the book ending of it as well, like with the amorphous blob with Elizabeth's face on it, right?
Yes, yes.
Kind of like she was trying to get to her star, and then it ends the same way it started, right? Kind of starts with an egg at the beginning, and then it ends kind of like an egg. Her face is over the star, and
the reverse of it, yeah,
the reverse of it. So in terms of some behind the scenes nuggets, I have a little bit.
Yes, let's hear them.
I have some things. So, you know, it was a French director. It was not filmed in LA, even though it took place in LA in the movie. It was filmed in France. So Elizabeth's apartment, it was like on a big soundstage. So it looks like it was over the Hollywood Hills, right? But it was actually just they made that, it was a backdrop and they backlit it and front lit it. So it just looked so like expansive, but they made that window really big on purpose. Like one, it was really impressive and it looked like her view and success and everything, but also it was kind of like a glass cage, right? She was very like isolated. It was kind of like a glass cage and they wanted to depict that visually. And I guess we talked about the prosthetics, right? There were so many prosthetics in this. And actually there were, there was only a tiny bit of CGI. And can you guess what the one CGI part was? Everything else was prosthetics. The one CGI
the very
part,
end when it disintegrates at the end, that had to have been CGI.
Yeah, that definitely was. And the whole thing with her face. So Demi Moore's face, Elizabeth's face on the back of Monstro.
Oh, that was CGI?
Monster? That was CGI. Well, what do you mean?
It was. I don't know. No, but I thought they like filmed it separately. I know that it was only Margaret Qualley in the suit and she's talked about that and it was like horrific and she had panic attacks and everything. But I thought maybe they filmed Demi Moore like doing that and then they just... show the different shots.
I guess it was CGI. That was like the one CGI thing. But yeah, you talked about that. She was in the suit and she'd be in it for like 8 hours until she like was freaking out and then they would take her out. Yeah.
I couldn't do that. There's no way I could do that.
Yeah. And the lipstick scene, I mean, we talked about it, right? But I guess the lipstick scene, which I guarantee that will be like the Oscar reel, the thing that they show for the Oscar when she's like wiping off. Yeah, she's wiping off her lipstick.
That's the scene that will win her the Oscar. That's just
her facial expression. She's like, oh, it's like everything's, culminating in that moment. But she did apparently like 15 takes of that where she's like rubbing it on her face. And then the director wanted to do one more. And the makeup artist stepped in and was like, no, she's going to get like, her face is ruined. Like she's going to get like a rash, like we're done. So I guess that was, like a really lengthy scene as well. All right. So here's one. Dennis Quaid, obviously amazing in this movie, but he wasn't the original. He wasn't. No. Well, this is kind of tragic actually. So originally they had cast Ray Liotta, right? But he passed away suddenly in 2022. So they recast with Dennis Quaid. Yeah. And I think, Ray Liotta, I think would have been amazing in it as well. Right.
Yeah, he would have been.
Yeah. That character really required, number one, commitment, but just to be kind of grotesque as well.
Yeah.
To portray that.
Yes, I know. It was just that very like toxic masculinity character. It was like, and he did it very, very well.
Yeah. And I thought this movie was just absolutely perfectly cast. And I don't know about you, right? It was amazing. And
100%. Yes.
And Demi Moore was great at the beginning with the workout scenes. And then Margaret Qualley, like she's a dancer, right? She's trained in dance.
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah. So she's trained in dance and her husband is a producer, right? He's like the Taylor Swift producer. So they're, very musical and artsy. And so she's a dancer in real life, but I guess she was really like she was really nervous about doing the workout scene, which was pretty, sexual. Yeah. So I guess
I'd say it was a little sexual-ish.
A little sexual, a lot of like, thrusting and, just watch it. It is. But I guess she was like so nervous about it that she got drunk in the morning. She got drunk on tequila.
Really?
Yeah. And then she smoked weed.
That'll do it.
She was drunk and like smoking weed throughout the day when she filmed that scene. And then the last one, we talked about the CGI and the prosthetics. And I guess for the activation scene, they used silicone dummies. Right. And you can kind of tell actually rewatching it.
You can. I guess it was puppets too, right? Like when she's
was it?
birthing. Yeah, I guess that was like a puppet.
That thing. When,
when she's birthed from it for the first time. It's very disturbing, very effective though. You're really pulled in.
You are. Really gets you. All right. It is time for Screamometer. All right, Al, what do you think about this one? I'm really, really curious to see what you give it.
Yeah. Okay. Love the movie.
You always whenever Allie starts defending, she has like a pretense before she gives her score. Yeah, it's going to be low.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm going solely on how we define Screamometer. I at least define Screamometer. Does this movie creep me out? Is it going to keep me up at night?
Yeah.
Were there parts of this movie that disturbed me? Absolutely, that creeped me out. Is this movie going to scare me, keep me up at night? No. In terms of Screamometer, this movie for me is a 4 out of 10. It's a 4 out of 10 on the Screamometer. I don't find it necessarily scary. I get that it's horror, body horror, but not scary for me, a 4 out of 10.
So what is happening with you and I? We're somehow aligning, like
Are
we
you going to say
diverged.
4 out of 10?
I gave it a 4 out of 10. I'm like, and I agree with you. I love this movie. I'm so happy it was nominated for Best Picture. Demi Moore was amazing. It was like a body horror, which to me, I guess really isn't as scary. Like I'm more like a, monster, like serial killer type of vibe.
Monster Elizabeth, come on.
Yeah, but Monster Elizabeth was kind of lovable. Not going to lie. Like she curled her little hair.
Oh, she was
put
lovable.
her little earrings in. Like she just wanted to be loved. She wanted her moment in the sun,
you know what?
in
She
the
was
starlight.
trying to make herself look pretty for the
She
world.
was, yeah. And she actually thought she looked good.
Yeah,
She was strutting down Hollywood Boulevard. I thought she looked cute.
Oh my God, she was. Yeah. Okay. Listeners, how about you? What do you think of Monster Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Lovable?
Yeah, lovable. She just, trying to get hers. So I totally agree with you. I gave it a 4 out of 10. And that's not to say we don't love the movie, because we obviously do.
Movie.
We're singing his praises.
Screamometer. Yeah.
Screamometer. Yeah. It's a 4 out of 10 for me as well.
Yeah. Screamometer is very specific.
It is.
It's again, has to be things that keep you up at night. Have to be things that like really scare you in the moment. So wow, Ash, I mean, cheers to agreeing for the second time in our 13th episode.
Yeah. Second time.
Yeah,
cheers.
Second time. All right.
Okay, now it is time for Sip and Tell, where we discuss our personal experiences related to the content of the substance. Okay, I feel like you have something really good, just based on the look on your face. I am so excited. Oh my goodness. Everybody, this is going to be so good. What do you have?
It took me a minute. All right. It took me a minute to bring myself
wait. I am
into
so
this.
excited.
I do have a Sip and Tell for this one. I'm not going to say that everyone listening can relate to this. I will say, I think our Canadian listeners will relate to this.
Oh, my
You'll
goodness.
know what I mean as I tell you. So Canadian listeners, please let me know if you agree. I could not help but remember my childhood when you watched Elizabeth Sparkle sucking that last bit of liquid out of
where is this going?
Wait for it. Out of the food. So she needs the food, right, during the 7 days. And so she's just like sucking that liquid out. And as you're nearing the end of that 7th day, it's really just this kind of plastic, that plastic bag with a little bit of liquid in it. Yeah. And I just can't help but remember, as a kid growing up in Canada, we had bags of milk. So Americans, apologies, you don't know this, but Google it. Google it, all right? So in Canada, it still exists today. You would get bags of milk. So you would buy like liters of milk, and it would come in these bags. And you would like get the bag and you put it in a little like container and you would pour it. And like when you would get to the end,
suck out the milk.
Gosh, when you got to the end of that, you could squeeze out a little bit extra milk for your cereal or for your coffee. Yes, you could. And it was also like that creamy material. Again, I challenge our Canadian listeners to comment. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Goodness.
Have you seen The Substance? Did it also remind me of that? Remind you of that? Because I can't believe that it didn't remind you of that, Ash. You also grew up in the same household I did.
I'm pretty confident in saying that I don't think it reminded anyone of that.
I think it did. And I would like to hear from our Canadian listeners. Let me know.
Listeners, does this remind you of sucking the bottom out of a bag of milk? Anybody? Crickets? Bueller? Okay, so I don't even know what to do with that. I need a minute. My sip and tell. My sip and tell. Okay. Okay, my sip and tell. I'm surprised you didn't mention this. So when we were younger, we had like a bungalow and we had a basement. We were always like putting on shows. We're very, creative kids, as all kids do, putting on shows. And we used to like dress up in the like workout gear with like the tights and like the bodysuits. We definitely used to do that and wear like the makeup.
We did like gymnastics and stuff. Yeah.
We did gymnastics and we used to like do little routines. And I will say it was never comfortable. Like the bodysuit, or like I think we did like bathing suits, or we had like things from gymnastics. We
weren't doing those kinds of routines.
No, we weren't doing We weren't doing those kinds of routines. They were very like innocent little like workout routines. Yeah, very innocent. More of the Elizabeth, not the Sue. Less of that. But we used to do that. I remember we would do our makeup and stuff as well, like kind of crazy colors. And we would just do those little routines. And I think we
like 80s.
Yeah, and we used to watch. We had, videotape. We're aging ourselves here, I guess. But we would have like videotapes,
VHS,
VHS,
VCRs. Everybody,
yeah, and like watch some of those things and try to like recreate them. So I think a lot of us did that as kids as well. Not quite as exciting as the bag of milk story that you told, but that's my sip and tell.
I just can't wait to hear.
Yours was a literal sip and tell. It was a literal. That was a literal sip and tell.
We sipped and told, many years later. So yeah.
We are moving on to Sips and Scares, where we discuss the scariest parts of the substance. What do you have? What are the scariest parts? We both gave it a 4, but what?
I know. We gave it a 4. So I think they weren't traditional scares. I'll say that. Mm-hmm. Are some of the scariest parts the depictions of men in this movie? Dennis Quaid eating that shrimp. I'd say that's pretty goddamn scary.
Yeah.
Horrifying. That was horrifying. I think. Other than that, though, for me, and this is like just disturbing, but when Sue's fingernail falls off and she's just like picking it off, I didn't enjoy that at the end of the movie.
No, I did not like that when her ear falls off and like just her pulling her own teeth out, like just like the body horror of that was quite substantial. Like you, I think, the men in this, they were all like very close up. They just looked really.
They did like close up scenes of the men as opposed to the women, right? It was all very close up, like almost like fisheye. Yeah, camera.
Yeah, fisheye and like just an unflattering angle, right? And eating the shrimp. I think like the need for the male validation was horrific. That might have been the scariest part of the entire movie.
I agree with you. Yes. And that's the only way you could be happy. 100% agreed.
And we haven't talked, I think that one of the most disturbing parts was the drumstick scene. Right. Yes. So Sue is actually turns out to be like a dream, right? But she's like doing her workout routine. She feels something in her leg.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, oh, and then like it's just really gross. She like somehow maneuvers it to her belly button and pulls out this drumstick.
That scene.
And it's basically
it's like a protrusion. Oh.
Yeah. And it's basically just like a dream. And that brings me to, so I think the scariest part, I think, of this movie was just like, I mean, we know it's about like women and aging and all of that, but in terms of like the substance and how they were able to, the switching back every 7 days, like I don't understand the motivation of Elizabeth to do it. I understand, like Sue wants to live this great life, but Elizabeth wasn't really living a great life. So I don't really understand why she would switch back.
I agree. And I also don't. So let's talk about that now, right? There's supposed to be one. I don't understand why neither one of them seem to remember the other one. There's no appreciation for the other one during it. And that doesn't really make sense to me. You'd think they'd have the same memories, experiences, and they really grow to hate each other.
And like the only thing they're experiencing the same is that overlap. So the drumstick thing, she dreamt that was because Elizabeth was chowing down on some chicken, right?
Lots of chicken.
Yeah. And then Elizabeth experiences the same thing. When Sue brings home that guy and she like has the dream of like hooking up with that guy on the couch or whatever. It's the same type of thing. Yeah. But it's just, I don't really understand that. I feel like it's kind of like a plot hole, or maybe they're just opening it up for interpretation. I'm not sure. But I thought that is one of the things that does stay with you. It's not necessarily scary, though.
I agree. No, 100% agree with that. And I think, we'd be remiss if we did not talk about the third act and all that blood. It is just so much blood that comes out of Monstro Elizasu. And like you said, just all over the audience, and they don't move. They are just accepting the fact that they are getting just sprayed with blood for
doused
a minute straight. Yeah.
It's
just
brutal.
like, there's
quite the cinematography of it is amazing.
Agreed. No, it is. It's disgusting, but it's effective. Definitely something that you remember about the movie.
Yeah, and I think like the Gollum scene that we're calling it, right? Which is like really older.
Gollum. I'm sorry, she's Gollum.
She's Gollum. I didn't find that scary. I thought that was great though. I love it because just like how bad. Because you're waiting for it. You're like, oh my goodness, she's been out for 3 months. First it was a finger, then it was like half her body.
I was surprised she woke up though. I don't think the first time I watched
how was she not dead?
Wake up. I don't know. So she's sucking those bags of milk dry.
She was sucking the dry.
She was.
But that was quite the shock when she woke up and you're like, oh my God. Like, so they did a really good job kind of shocking you. Same with the Monstro Elizasu, because like she's birthed, it's like her viewpoint and she's just like making these like gross sounds.
Breathing.
And goes over to the mirror and then slowly looks up and it's just like did it.
But like you and I both know that is a tough watch. Like it is tough to watch. And again, I agree that Mozzarella Sue was lovable. Now that I think about it, I did feel for her. But it's tough to watch.
Yeah. You know, we talked about Thanksgiving, right, with our martinis, but we also watched this that week because we were together. And I wouldn't recommend eating Thanksgiving leftovers while watching The Substance. Your stomach will churn. It's not appetizing. We definitely did that. We watched it all together and we were like, oh my goodness. Okay, it is time for cliches and ripoffs. I'm so excited for this one.
So am I.
Okay, well, you know what? By all means, you start. What are the cliches and ripoffs of The Substance?
Yeah, I'm going to start with one that maybe, I don't know if it's on your list or not, Ash. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't.
You were coming in hot with the weird ones tonight.
I like thinking of like ones outside the box. You don't. 7 days.
Oh, of course.
7 days, The Ring. I have to think that the 7 days was a choice. And it was definitely inspired by The Ring.
So and maybe not by the calendar.
No, I think it was inspired by The Ring.
Yeah.
I think, they were paying homage to a classic, great horror movie. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I mean, Demi Moore did have the long, straight black hair.
She did. She was channeling
like Samara.
She was. So you tell me it wasn't inspired by The Ring, Ash.
Okay. No, I love that you're leading off with that one. I mean, I think the most obvious one, they paid homage to The Shining.
Yeah, but that's obvious. I don't like to
it's obvious. I still want to talk about it.
The red hallway.
The red hallway with the pattern. Yes. The bathroom with the red doors when she goes into it. That was like the bathroom in the Overlook Hotel.
Yes.
The blood at the end all over the walls. Right? The blood, but then it goes into the walls, and that's definitely like the thing coming out of the hallway. There's just a lot of things from The Shining, which, I think you got to mention that. That was definitely paying homage to one of the best horror movies of all time.
Ash, that's on my list. It just wasn't the first one. I think if we're going to talk about blood everywhere, Carrie.
Yeah, I have Carrie.
A la Stephen King. I think that scene, when Sue was just beating the living life of Elizabeth Sparkle.
The living.
Elizabeth Sparkle. And the blood, the amount of blood that comes out and the blood that's just covering her face. I mean, definitely Carrie, right?
I mean, absolutely Carrie.
And Stephen, I love my Stephen King. So
I know. And I'm going to drink to that actually.
I'd love to find like a Pet Cemetery reference, but I don't have Pet Cemetery written down.
Really? I mean, with the death and everything, you don't have Pet Cemetery? I mean, she was basically resurrected in the third act. That's your Pet Cemetery, Al. I'm giving it to you. There you go.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Ash.
Yeah.
All right.
Monster Alyssa Sue and Sue was also resurrected.
She was lovable. Yeah, but she was lovable.
I love how you turned around. Lovable. You're like, she's a monster. And like, actually, she's great. You turned around real quick on that.
I think if anything that this podcast will do for our listeners is you're going to maybe come into it with like Monster Alyssa Sue is like awful, but then like, you're going to hear Ash out and you're gonna be like, yeah, no, she's a lovable character. Yeah. A little misunderstood.
The vodka might help a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a couple more. Okay. Some good ones. Okay. Black Swan with the nails, right? When she's like peeling her nail off. Yes. That is totally Black Swan.
Totally Black Swan.
And Natalie Portman's character does that. Yeah. Kill Bill. I thought it was very like Kill Bill with the fight scene at the end when Sue has like inhuman strength.
Yeah.
And then my number one, and I'm surprised I didn't mention this, and this is very relevant, and it's from like the Scream Queen that we all love. Okay, Perfect. Jamie Lee Curtis, Perfect from the 1980s. The workout scenes, come on. Okay, it is a complete ripoff off of Perfect. Oh. And I think they're playing homage to Jamie Lee Curtis and like Demi Moore. They're like the same age.
That is amazing, and 100%.
Obviously, Jamie Lee Curtis, Perfect.
Even the movements that she does, that Sue does.
Thrusting and everything. It's definitely like that. And they recently, you have to go watch it. They recently, Jamie Lee Curtis recently did something with Jimmy Fallon where they recreate that iconic scene.
I can't. That is like amazing.
If you haven't seen Perfect, it's like an absolutely horrible movie.
Watch Perfect. Oh, it's bad. But it's worth it for that scene.
he's like it's based on a true story. Like he's like a journalist.
Yeah.
And she's a fitness instructor and they're somehow involved in some conspiracy thing. I don't know. And he goes to jail. Anyway, it's this whole thing. But there's this one scene where he goes to one of her fitness classes and she's like, he's almost like surprised that he can even do it. And like, they're just so sweaty. And yeah, it's this whole thing.
We'll post it on our page because if you haven't seen Perfect, like you have to just watch it for the scene alone.
Yeah. You can shut it off after that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just watch the one scene and then you're good.
And I have one more. And again, you know how I like to bring up Saved by the Bell, right? I feel
like the Sunday one. Wait,
Sunday. I'm so excited. I'm so scared.
Yeah.
Hot Sunday.
Right, fair
Kelly,
enough,
Lisa, and Jesse. Zach's like their manager, and they do this whole like workout video, music video thing. Put your mind to it. Go for it. You remember. You all know what I'm talking about.
I think I don't know if I do. I think you need to sing it for us. And then I'll
like, put your mind to it. Go for it. You gotta work it out or something. Yeah. Anyway. You know, go watch it.
Now I do. You're right. It's ringing a bell.
It's a Jesse Spano.
Now that you sang it.
Eating caffeine pills. It's all that all happens.
The same episode.
So much happens.
I think every time you mention Saved by the Bell, we have to have a drink.
Okay.
In this podcast.
Have a drink. It's a great sitcom. Okay, it is time for alternate endings. Yes. Drum roll, please. I'm so sorry. There are no alternate endings. Can't.
You know what? I expect more of you.
Do you want me to go talk to Corley and be like, what the hell? Give people more. People are asking like what the alternate like scenes and endings. There aren't any. So I thought we could use this time to talk about, we've kind of touched on it, like our interpretation of the ending. I don't think it's as cut and dry as maybe some other people think. I don't know, but I wanted to know what you thought of the ending. Like, did you like the ending? Do you think, did you feel good about kind of where the story went?
No. No, I didn't. I would have liked to have seen Elizabeth Sparkle take back her life when she had the dead finger and, realize that she did not need that external validation, that like she still had a lot to live for. So no, I didn't like the ending.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the third act. I thought like they turned everything on its heels and they're like, okay, it was all about like the male gaze and whatever and beauty standards.
Yeah, it exposed,
we're going to go so extreme that it's going to be like just like a caricature of it, right? So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But I also, in this, again, I keep, the lovable monstro Alyssa Sue, like she was the only... Well, Sue was very confident in feeling herself, but Elizabeth wasn't. But when they were finally in that form that was kind of like grotesque by traditional beauty standards, I mean, she was confident. She was walking down that street. She kind of a swagger.
She was, and like you said, she went in those earrings on. She curled her hair.
She thought she looked good. So everyone else was kind of judging her, but like she felt good. So I thought, I don't know. I kind of like that. And then the part where, the very ending when Elizabeth is finally like released from her body, right? She just the little blob, egg thing that's crawling to the star because she wants to like die there. She seemed at peace, would you say? Right? Because she's, the physical stuff is gone now. She's just crawling.
She's smiling.
Yeah, crawling towards her star. And she's kind of like reminiscing and she's kind of looking up. And to me, I liked that ending because when she lets go of all those beauty standards and all of that, she could kind of be at peace. But again, she was only remembering the things that were like the star and like kind of the
no, exactly. Things. And she needed, her existence is only worth something when she was that star, right? And so I think,
And then it was so brilliant. It wasn't even a metaphor. It was very on the nose where at the end, when basically like she dissolves into the star and then she just swept away by the cleaner and that's it. It's like you never existed. It didn't matter. So kind of dark. I mean, very dark, but I thought it was effective. It makes you think. But I did like the ending. All right. It's time for the villain. Who's the villain? I'm very excited to hear your take on this. Who's the villain? Who is it? And I feel like it's not Monstro Sue.
To be fair, I never had Monstro Eliza Sue as the villain, Ash. There is one villain in this movie.
Huh?
Yeah. And that villain is the male nurse that slipped her with substance.
Oh, okay.
Number, because none of this would have happened. And that fed into those insecurities. So young male nurse is the villain of this movie.
Okay. But if someone puts a cigarette in front of you, it doesn't mean that you have to smoke it, right? So to me, The villain is Demi
Okay.
Moore. She's the villain. She's doing this to herself.
She's the villain.
She hates herself so much, and nothing's ever good enough. And she does all this. She creates all of this madness. It's her. It's your own like fight with yourself.
Okay.
Your own vanity.
All right.
Right. Like no one was forcing you to do this. You can like accept.
But she would have never known about the substance, Ash. It's not like she'd be like, oh, like, why don't I like inject this liquid into myself? She would have never known about it.
I understand, but my counter to that is there's alcohol, there's liquor stores, there's cigarettes. No one's like forcing you to do it. They can tell you about it, like, oh, it feels great, you'll love it, but you don't have to do it.
Okay.
Right. So I feel like
you make a valid.
You have to have control over your own situation. And she could have stopped. This is my one like bone to pick with the movie. The fact that she didn't stop and she knew
after Dead Finger. Stop after Dead Finger.
What Sue was doing to her. Like I don't understand the benefit of that. So I have a theory, and I did a little bit of a Reddit deep dive on this.
Yeah.
You could take the entire movie as somewhat of a metaphor for substance abuse. You definitely could. Because Sue is the person that's like high and like living the good life, right? But when you come back to the sobriety, which would be Elizabeth, you don't remember any of it. But you keep going back because like you remember that feeling. You're like, oh, it must have felt good, right? So to me, that makes total sense that it's some kind of thing, some kind of metaphor for substance use, because that would make sense with the disconnect, why you don't remember and why you keep going back. Right. Yeah, you feel like shit when you wake up, but you keep going back for more. And the fact that it was called The Substance, I wonder if that actually was. And there's some people that think this. Yeah. So because of all that, I do think that Elizabeth was like the villain. Yeah.
All right. Well, listeners, let us know. Who do you think was the real villain of this movie? Do you agree with Ash? Is it Elizabeth Sparkle herself? Is it the male nurse? Is it someone else we're not even thinking of or mentioning?
Is it Dennis Quaid? Because he's just the worst.
He's not good.
Okay, we are moving on to Sips and Simmering Questions, where we answer questions sent in by our listeners on social media. And we have some really good ones tonight. I'm very excited. All right, I'm starting off with this one from Timmy Rupert on Instagram. Who is the better Quaid, Randy or Dennis? I'm throwing that to you.
Okay. I mean, Dennis Quaid's amazing in this movie, and I love him in this movie. But for me, I will always have a soft spot for Randy Quaid in acting roles. Randy Quaid in acting roles only. I need to state that. Mm-hmm. Cousin Eddie in National Lampoon's amazing. I mean, I'm not sure any other character beats that for me. So yeah, Cousin Eddie. I mean, just iconic. So he's a better Quaid for me, Ash. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Cousin Eddie was, I mean, like brilliant. Infamous forever. Iconic. We also have another question. This one's from Danes Taylor. He sent us a bunch. I'm picking the top two. Okay, again, it's Dennis Quaid. Everyone wants to know about Dennis Quaid. Okay, here's his question. Where does the Quaid eating shrimp scene rate for all-time grossest horror eating scenes? Where does it fall for you?
Horror eating scenes too. I love that it's very specific.
Yeah.
I mean, it is up there. Yeah. It is up there. I mean, I think there's other scenes where they're like eating like maggots and things like that may be a little bit higher, but it's up there for me. I'm gonna rank that probably in my top 10% of eating movies and horror movies. In horror movies. Yeah.
It's just the way it's like filmed. It's so gross. Apparently he ate like 4 pounds of shrimp. Like Demi Moore's talked about it.
He ate the shrimp. Ash?
He ate it. Yeah. And he like committed, and he ate, it was like 4 pounds. Like he did all these takes. It was just disgusting. Demi Moore's talked about it in interviews. Yeah. So it is definitely up there. I mean, there's some like cannibalism movies where they're eating like brains and stuff, which is pretty gross. I mean, the one most notably
Hannibal Lecter eat brain, or even like making the guy eat his own brain.
That was
Ray Liotta.
Ray Liotta. Oh, it's come full circle. Yeah, Ray Liotta and Red Dragon ate his own brain.
Probably one of the most disturbing eating movies.
I actually think that was the most disturbing.
Yeah. That's number one.
Yeah.
And then this one is
this is number two.
Number two, maybe like 3, 4, 5. I'm sure we could think if we thought about this, Ash, we could probably come up with a couple others that go in between, but it's definitely up there.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. That was a great question. All right. His second question was, I like this one. I'm assuming this is for you and I. Are you the original or the copy? Who's the original and who's the copy? Okay. I mean, I don't even know how to answer that. Who is the Demi Moore? Decrepit.
Old.
I mean, she's not decrepit. When she ages, grotesquely.
Maybe one of us is Monster Alyssa Sue. We don't even know it.
I will take the Demi Moore though. I don't want to be Sue, even though I'm
I'd
like
rather be Demi Moore.
I don't want to be. Yeah,
I'd rather be her too.
Yeah.
I don't know, Ash. I mean, I'm 6 minutes younger than you.
You are.
So I'm going to say you're the original and I'm the copy, I guess.
And maybe one of us is Monstro Sue. I mean, her confidence alone.
Okay, you maybe turn around and Monstro Alyssa Sue, and I don't know. I'm okay with that. Like you said, she was confident in the way she looked. Not until other people called her a freak and stuff did she think that. So I'm here for Monstro Alyssa Sue. I am.
Exactly. Thank you for your questions, and please keep sending those in because we love answering them on the podcast. Okay, it's time for Sips and Sequels. Now, I looked, and I'm sure everybody else wants a sequel, right? There are no sequels. She has said, Farjeet has said that she wants to keep the film unique and fresh and not create sequels or prequels. And I don't know about you, but I feel like a prequel, like who came up with the Substance?
We always want prequels.
Who came up with this? Give us an origin story.
Yeah.
Who did they test on? What about that guy, the nurse? Give us his story.
Yeah.
Make it a male one. That would have been awesome.
But then they could smile it, and show the whole origin of it, show how it became what it became. I agree with you. And it's funny, every time we answer this question, I feel like we always want prequels.
Yeah.
But it's true. You want to know where it came from.
Because there's no exposition.
No, there wasn't. Yeah.
And I feel like, so she wrote, someone else could write it, right? I don't think it was the same people for, Nightmare on Elm Street, some of those other ones, other people eventually took it over. So maybe somebody else will. But you could, I think switching the sexes, now show the male version. Let's see that. I think that would actually be.
Oh, that'd be really interesting, actually. Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, that's going to do it for Sips and Screams episode 13, The Substance. Thank you so much for joining us and listening today. Join us next time as we sip on more themed cocktails and discuss the good, the bad, and the truly terrifying of our favorite horror movies. Cheers.
Cheers.